They smirked. When she stepped into bank, no flashy jewelry, no security detail, just a tote bag and calm eyes. They didn't ask for her name. They assumed. One teller rolled her eyes. The other whispered, "Probably here to cash a check from her boss." And when she handed over her ID, the teller scoffed, then threw it on the floor. What none of them knew, that woman was the boss. And the $2 billion deal she came to sign, it vanished, just like the respect they refused to show. Don't scroll. What happens when silent power meets public disrespect? Watch this all the way through. And if you believe respect should never come with conditions, hit that subscribe button now and drop a comment. Respect is earned, not assumed. The bank was quiet. Not peaceful quiet. The kind of quiet that hums with judgment, that wraps itself around your neck like a velvet noose when you don't look like you belong. It was 9:02 a.m. on a Thursday when Elise Monroe walked into First Dominion Bank in uptown Atlanta. No security detail. No suit. No designer purse. Just tailored jeans, a cream sweater, flats, and a calm so unshakable it made people uncomfortable. She had an appointment. She had power. She had every reason to believe today would be a simple handoff. Sign, transfer, done. A $2 billion clean energy partnership was ready to activate. But what she didn't have, a face they expected to see walking in with that kind of power. The teller was young, maybe 24. Blonde braids, glossy nails tapping against the marble counter. She didn't look up right away. Elise waited. No sigh, no shifting weight. Just patience. The kind you develop from years of having to prove you belong after you've already earned your place. Finally, the teller glanced up, gave the half-smile reserved for people you think you're better than. Yes. Elise reached into her tote and pulled out her government-issued ID and her corporate access badge. "I have an appointment with Mr. Landon Matthews regarding the Dominion project." The teller looked at the ID, looked back at Elise. Then she scoffed, loud enough for the next customer in line to hear. "What kind of appointment?" she asked, voice suddenly sharper. Elise replied, still calm, "An equity transfer and board authorization." That's when it happened. With a curled lip and a flick of her manicured wrist, the teller threw Elise's ID onto the floor. Not dropped. Threw. Elise blinked once. Bent down. Picked it up. Silence swallowed the lobby. An older man in line muttered, "Wow." A mother gently pulled her child closer. The manager on duty, sipping coffee near the back, hadn't even noticed yet. Elise stood back up, her voice cool but clear. "Is there a problem with the appointment?" The teller didn't respond, just folded her arms, as if the very existence of Elise in the space was offensive. That was when Mr. Landon Matthews came rushing out from the glass office upstairs. "Ms. Monroe, Elise, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize you were already here. Please come upstairs." The teller paled, and for a moment, her fake confidence cracked. Mr. Matthews, VP of Finance and one of the most powerful men in the southeastern banking corridor, practically tripped over himself trying to make it right. "I sincerely hope my staff was polite," he offered nervously. Elise paused and smiled. Not warm, not cruel, just knowing. Let's not waste time. Upstairs, the deal was on the table. A partnership with her firm, Solar Wave Capital, was set to inject $2 billion into Dominion Bank's green infrastructure expansion. It was the kind of deal that headlines are made of, the kind that transforms cities, the kind that lifts entire communities. But Elise couldn't shake it. The floor, her idea on the floor, the way it echoed something she'd felt too many times before, that no matter how much wealth you build, no matter how much power you hold, there's always someone waiting to throw you down. By the time the meeting ended, Mr. Matthews was already pouring champagne. "Elise, you are a vision. This partnership is going to change the world." She raised a glass, touched it to his, didn't drink, and then softly but firmly she spoke. "I won't be moving forward with the partnership." Matthews blinked. Sorry." She stood, calm as ever. "Dominion Bank no longer aligns with the values of my company. But we've spent months. You spent months. I spent decades building something that doesn't tolerate being thrown to the floor. She turned to leave. The manager, now aware of what happened, rushed forward. "We'll take disciplinary action," he stammered. Elise stopped, looked him dead in the eye. "I don't need someone fired," she said. "I need someone educated." Downstairs, the teller stood frozen, watching Elise walk out. She knew she'd just become the face of a cautionary tale, the one they'd whisper about at lunch breaks and diversity workshops. Elise didn't slam the door, didn't make a scene. She just left. And with her, she took $2 billion and a lesson that would outlive every apology. Back at her office, her assistant asked quietly, "Do you want to release a statement?" Elise shook her head. "No. Let them sit in the silence. Let echo louder than anything I could say. Because sometimes the most powerful sound is none at all." It had been 16 years since the woman in the cream sweater walked out of First Dominion Bank. 16 years since her ID was thrown to the floor. And 16 years since $2 billion vanished into thin air, along with the bank's future. I know because I was there. I was 8 years old, sitting in the employee break room, swinging my legs from a plastic chair too tall for me. My mother, Yvette Langston, was the teller. Back then, I didn't understand why she came home that night shaking. I didn't understand why her voice cracked when she told me, "Some people think they're better than they are." But I remember the silence that followed, and the way her co-workers started looking at her differently. Whispers. Avoided eye contact. She hadn't just thrown someone's ID. She'd thrown away the future. First Dominion never recovered. The partnership Elise Monroe had pulled was only the first domino. Within 4 years, competitors had swept in. Green capital surged elsewhere. Dominion missed every major innovation wave. The bank was sold for pennies. And my mother? Laid off. No pension. No severance. She never said the name. But I found it. Elise Monroe. I Googled her at 15. Found her keynote speeches, her TED Talk on dignity in the boardroom. Watched her speak at Harvard, then Howard, then the UN. And every time I saw her face, I remembered the sound. The soft slap of a plastic ID hitting the marble floor. And how that sound somehow echoed for years in our home. My name is Neil Langston. I'm 24 now. And 2 months ago, I was invited to interview for a position at Solar Wave Capital. It didn't hit me at first. I'd applied to 48 jobs. Got 3 interviews. When I saw the Solar Wave email, my heart raced. Not just because it was Elise Monroe's company, but because it felt like the universe had brought the story full circle. I didn't tell my mother. She'd changed over the years. More private, more tired. I didn't want to drag her through the shame again. But when I stepped into that lobby, everything stopped. It was the same calm, the same quiet authority. Elise stood at the far end of the room, speaking softly to someone in a navy suit. I froze. I don't know what I expected. Maybe I thought she looked older, harsher, but she looked exactly the same. I was ushered into a glass-walled room. The HR manager was kind, professional, but I could barely focus. 15 minutes into the interview, the door opened. Elise walked in. "I'd like to sit in, if that's all right," she said. My breath caught in my chest. I nodded. She sat, crossed her legs, looked right at me, and asked the question I dreaded. "Langston, are you related to Yvette Langston?" My voice cracked before I could catch it. "Yes, ma'am. She's my mother." The room went still. I expected rejection, dismissal, some quiet, polite way of escorting me out. But Elise just nodded. Her gaze didn't flinch. Instead, she leaned forward. "Tell me something, Nia. What have you learned from what happened that day?" I swallowed. Hard. "I wasn't there," I whispered. But I heard the story 100 ways. And I lived the aftermath. I watched my mom unravel. I watched the weight of a moment crush a woman who thought she had controlled the room. I paused. But I also learned this. One moment doesn't have to define you. What matters is what you build after the fall. Her eyes didn't blink, but something shifted in them. "Go on," she said. I gathered myself. "My mother made a mistake." I said, One rooted in pride, ignorance, and years of internalized bias. But I've spent every day since then doing the opposite. Listening, learning, leading with humility. A silence fell over the table. And then Elise smiled. "You're not here because of your mother," she said. "You're here because you walked in." Then she stood. "I'll see you Monday. Welcome to Solar Wave." The day I got the offer letter, I sat with my mother on the porch, told her everything. She didn't speak for a long time, just stared at the trees. Finally, she whispered, "I thought I buried that moment." "You did," I said, "but I carried it. I studied it. I turned it into fuel." She nodded slowly. A tear fell down her cheek. "I'm sorry," she said. And I believed her, not just for the moment in the bank, but for the years of silence that followed. Because silence can heal, but it can also haunt. And now, I get to walk into that building every morning not as an echo of the past, but as a bridge to the future. If this story hit you, don't let it end here. Drop a comment. I am the bridge. And if you believe power doesn't always need to raise its voice to be heard, tap that subscribe and share this with someone who needs to hear it.